So, did you ever meet somebody on the internet and then, like, start associating with them and then Google them and then be like, oh, wow, the drama. Well, it happens. It's the internet. Why wouldn't the most dramatic thing be at the top of the search engine? So, that's really not that surprising. But, regardless, haven't had any problems with them. So, we'll continue association for the time being. I am going to do a video today that is in response to Adrian Fort vlogs and unremarkable opinions. I have been kind of affiliating with Adrian for about a month and a half now. I came across him when I really started getting my channel going, probably because of the Rounded Readings playlist, and noticed his playlist, noticed Strip Cover Lit, which is his other thing. And then this month, Adrian has been doing 60 videos in 30 days. So he's been doing one for, I think, Strip Cover Lit, and one for Adrian Fort Vlogs and Unremarkable Opinions. And as part of my great distribution, I had sent him a painting, and so he ended up doing a whole YouTube on my painting, and then on a question that I had asked him, and I had asked him, what will you do when you're a billionaire? And unfortunately, part of his great plan, which includes getting rid of all the bears, which I'm very much for, and making Trudeau cry, also includes invading my state of origin, South Dakota. So a little controversy on that. That's probably my biggest issue with him at this point. But, we'll hash that out, because the making Trudeau cry thing is completely valid, and South Dakota would be down for that. So I'm sure we can come to an accord. But he did a 25 random truth or dare questions, and they were awful. They're awful questions. So I'm not going to do those questions, but I decided to do a different set of questions, because the idea of doing questions, that makes sense, to let your audience get to know you, and it's fun to have a pretend colleague for my pretend job. So, I picked the Tim Ferriss interview questions of billionaires, because obviously me and Adrian are both on our way to becoming billionaires, and we'll have to work out his taking over South Dakota thing, but still, it's a good direction to go, so I figured we'll go with the billionaire questions. And so I pulled Tim Ferriss's 11 questions that he asked his interviewees. If you don't know, Tim Ferriss is a guy who interviews highly successful people across a variety of categories. So he'll interview runners and businessmen and whomever. So, first one. What is the book or books you have given the most as a gift, and why? I would say immediately The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. Yes, I did write down my answers before, because unlike Adrian, I wasn't going to wing it, because I'm just not that much of a daredevil. Although I do wing it sometimes, but not for questions, because that's just thinking too hard. And then the Verbally Abusive Relationship and How to Recognize It by Patricia Evans, and 12 Rules for Life by Dr. Jordan Peterson. Although I would say 12 Rules for Life is not his best work. His best work is the old series that he did as his lecture series, Maps of Meaning, and there's another one too, but his old lecture series before he accidentally became famous, when he was just a little frumpy Canadian professor, by far his best work. When he was still nervous and drinking Diet Coke, definitely his best work was then, and I would highly recommend watching all of his work. All of it. I know there's years of it. I know it's repetitive. Just watch it all. You'll be better off. Number 2. What purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months? This is going to be silly sounding. Pretty window bells. So it was the middle of COVID apocalypse, and there's a little kind of novelty stuff store that sometimes sells my prints, and they're in a little strip mall thing, and so they're all like that. They're all like crafty household stuff that nobody needs. And I decided, I could, and I went down there and I bought these little silly bells just to buy something because I knew they were having a hard time. But then also, I legitimately wanted them. They were legitimately beautiful, and I often will basically just put myself out and not get the things I want because I'm like, oh, I need to save for this or I need to do this. And I've been trying to kind of shift my modality, not to go in debt, but basically to appreciate the present a little bit more and not live so much for this like time that will come or something when I will get all the beautiful things that I want. And so it's just so funny because it's like a frivolous thing, but I hung it in my little window spot above my sink where I do dishes, and I've made a little beautiful area there with my houseplants and a little prism, and it's actually, I think it's really important to do that once in a while, and I don't think you should go overboard with it, but it was something that I have neglected a little bit in homemaking, and I'm trying to find a good balance between homemaking and overspending and just trying to find that in between. And then the other thing was I bought a really nice leather purse from Goodwill, and I wasn't expecting to find it there, and I wasn't expecting to like want this style of purse, but it's the style that doesn't have many interior pockets, and it's just way easier to manage if you're not dealing with holding, like it stands straight up, so like you're not dealing with digging it open and you're not dealing with side pockets. And now that I have baby man, like I don't want to have to deal with a baby man bag and a my bag and like whatever. So it's been like really good. Anyway, 3, how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? Do you have a favorite failure? I have 2. Maybe I have 2 for all of these. I didn't mean to have 2 for all of these. Oh well. I have 2 major epic failures in my life. The first, well, maybe 3. It's a 3 if you include my first relationship. But I don't think that set me up for success. I think that set me up for like lifetime of issues. But, so, we're going to skip the first one. But, the second one, I attempted in 2009, or no, in 2008 and then on to into 2009. I attempted to go to Cambridge, Anglia Ruskin School of Art and Design, and I did not have anywhere near the money that you needed to go, and I applied to get approved by the GI Bill, and the GI Bill used to be a little sticklier than it is kind of now, and it used to be that you could get paid the highest amount in your state of residence. So for me, that was still South Dakota. And so the amount that I would have gotten from the GI Bill would have paid for approximately a third. And then yet, it hadn't been approved, that particular program, because no one had ever tried to do it. So I waited a year and a half for it to get approved. It did eventually get approved, but by that time, my marriage had went to heck, and then I'd run completely out of money. So I did the classic art person thing of just like going completely broke. Yeah, but I think that set me up for success because the second time I ended up going to art school, I was just very dedicated to it, and I know I got way better grades because of that, and I just tried a lot harder, and I appreciated it at like such a high level because I didn't get to go back until 2015. And I really was trying to like get satisfied in another career, but that didn't happen, so I just went back to art school. And then the other one is when I was in the National Guard, I tried out for the female engagement team. And the female engagement team was the precursor to women being in special ops. And I didn't really know anything about it. I was just working at Time Warner Cable and like really wanted to go active, which with the National Guard, you go active by like volunteering for shit. So I volunteered for a female engagement team, and I was kind of excited, but it was super like hush hush about the particulars. They're like, get ready, make sure you're preparing. So I read like 4 books on the Middle East because I thought I was preparing for like being female engagement team, and I get there and the other chicks have been like hiking the Rockies and like getting down to like 10% body fat, and like they're like, yeah, I did the 9 mile, I went up to Pikes Peak, and I was like, and they're like, what have you been doing? I'm like, big histories of the Middle East, and the way the Soviet armaments are still there and stuff. And they're like, oh, cool. Well, anyway, I made it 5 days out of a 7-day qualification. And the last day I came in, they were doing these, oh, they did a lot of things that I'm not talking about. But one of the things that they did was the ruck march of death that, like, Special Ops does, where you don't know how long you're going to ruck. But, like, I can ruck. I can ruck forever, just because I can suffer forever. I don't care. I can keep going. So I've never not completed a ruck, but I was dying. And everybody was past me. I was probably, like, either I was passing people who were completely quitting and sitting alongside the road, because you could quit at any time, or the people who were making it were already there. But I came in probably an hour after everybody else, and I was like one of the only people that was lagging that didn't just sit down by the side of the road. And I weighed my bag, and then I took myself over to the med tent, and, like, I had no skin on either of my feet. Because I get real bad foot blisters, and this was just, like, particularly bad go of it. The bottom of my feet looked like hamburger. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to withdraw. And the trainers there just started laughing at each other. And I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, we were just betting on if you would make it or not. You're medically discharged. You can come back. Because if you withdraw, you don't get to come back. But I got medically discharged, so I could have went back. But that was, like, a big thing, because that was the first time I'd ever failed so hard physically in the service that I couldn't accomplish it. And it was a good reality check moment, because I looked around at the chicks who were making it, and they were, like, big. Either they had been lifetime athletes, which I am not, or they were huge, like Samoan chicks, like big Viking, like you think a Viking chick, like that's who was really making it. I'm 5'2". Like, let's just be real here. Like, who do you want in the field? Probably not the 5'2" chick. And so I went back to operating radar and planes, and it was probably a way better use of myself. And I think that was, like, one of my first, like, coming to grips with who I was and what I wanted, and really just being satisfied with not being the most hua physical person, even at my height. Like, I had just tried that so hard, and I didn't need to. And it was just good. It was good for me to, like, max out and find my limit, so that's why that was a good failure. All right, this one's way more fun. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions and billions, what would you say on it and why? So, if I could do this, I don't know if any of you have seen the Beyond Truly Human video series, or maybe it was just one movie. It might have just been one movie. It was put out by the Orthodox Christian Church of America, and they were studying the dones and the nuns, so people who are done with religion or have no religion. And the artist, who was the interviewer, did this wonderful art project where he made, like, the saint's halo, like a gold saint's halo, like a life-size one on a board, and took it out to the streets and photoed people in front of it. And the whole idea of that is to say, behold, this is a child of God. And it was so visually stunning. Like, I would love to do it, but then also, I think that'd be a great thing to have on a billboard. And how would I make everybody available in that halo? Well, that's where the internet makes it easy. I would put the NPC meme guy in that halo and put below him, behold, this is a child of God. Because when you find yourself on the opposite side of an issue, you imagine the people on the other side of you as these non-player characters who just are ignorant and stupid or whatever. Well, they're not. They're the same as you. And I wish we could come back to a place of treating each other like children of God. And so that's what I would do. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you have ever made? I would definitely, I have some money ones, but I don't even want to cover the money ones. I think spending time on people or spending effort on people. And the killer about this, even to say this, is most of the time you won't know if it's stuck. You won't. but occasionally, like I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 times in my life, it's mattered. And I've been able to help people. And it's so rare, and you so don't know which ones it's going to help. But you can. And that's time and effort on people. And money without time or effort, you might as well not do it. In fact, trying to help people by giving them money often can be a detriment to your relationship. And I know that sounds like insane, but yeah, it can be. Trying to help people with money alone is often just a detriment to your relationships. But time and effort, man. You put time and effort into other people's lives, that comes back 1,000-fold, but maybe not directly to you, and maybe not right away. Sometimes it takes 5 to 10 years, but it's worth it. When it sticks, God, nothing is more fulfilling. All right. 6. What is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? I love sun-heated surfaces, especially right after the sun has got down, when it's like starting to get cool out, and like if your pavement is still warm. I love to like take off my shoes and just feel that, or just lay on them. Like, yeah, I'll just lay on my patio and just feel that sun energy coming out of the rocks. I just, that's one of the best things ever, I think. All right. In the past 5 years, what new belief or behavior or habit has most improved your life? Dr. Peterson's whole thing about do it poorly. So if you can't do something well, it is way better to just go ahead and do it poorly than not at all. This has been a huge relief to me, because there was like tons of things that I was not getting done that I could have started to do, and I just didn't do them because I couldn't do them well, or I would just give up. Like eating well, I would just give up on it, and it's like, no, it's better to like kind of sort of eat well than not eat well at all, and it's better to kind of sort of do exercise than not do exercise, and it's better to kind of sort of clean your room than not clean your room at all. And once you get over being down on yourself for the in-between, man, you can start getting productive. It's freaking amazing. It's freaking amazing. Where you're like, well, I guess I can at least drag my butt over to walk. And then once you're walking, you're like, well, I guess I can just go around that corner. And it's like, well, I went around that corner yesterday. And it's just freaking incredible that small incremental release where you just know you're not going to beat yourself up for not making the big goal. So freaking huge. And it's even like this channel, like videos and stuff, when I started, I wasn't doing any editing. I didn't think I would ever do editing. And like even trying to start making money with art, which I'm by far not there yet, but the idea of just doing it poorly as long as it takes to be doing it well, so much better. So much better of a mindset than what I had. And it's goofy because it's such a goofy thing to be like, do it poorly. But no, it totally helps. It's the best thing ever. All right, 8. What advice would you give a smart, driven college student about their life if they enter the real world? And what advice should they ignore? I would say, remember, you are never working for your boss. You are only ever working for you. All the work you do is for yourself. So if you treat everything you do like an investment for yourself, you're going to be way better off. And I mean, if you're mopping floors or you're doing neurosurgery, every time you mop that floor, you're mopping it for yourself. You're building a stepping stone for yourself. And if you don't like that job, still do that job the damnedest best you can possibly do, because when you leave it, which you will if you want to, you want them to just beg to keep you. And that's how you should do every job, so that when you're ready to leave, they're going to miss you. Because it's not for them. It's for you. And you should treat yourself damn well. And if you can't treat yourself well, we'll work on that. And do it poorly if you have to. But, yeah, don't think about it as, oh, I'm not going to do that because this guy's a turd. Well, you're always going to work for turds. And unfortunately, if your attitude is that way, you're working for yourself. And you're the turd that you're working for. You can quit being a turd tomorrow, and then you can start working for a good guy if you're not being a turd to yourself. Anyway, that might be convoluted, but it's still important. And then, what advice should you ignore? unless you are going into a very specific field and you know absolutely for sure there's a job out there that you really want for real, don't go to grad school. Don't let teachers talk you into going to grad school. Grad school is being used for slave labor in the United States. So just accept that and move on, unless you have like a very, very specific, actual, singular, not like the idea of the job, like a real job that is like you've discussed with them for real, you can do it. Like I have like one friend who's going to be a school counselor and she needs grad school. But the job actually exists and she can actually get it. Not like a school counselor somewhere in the ether I could perhaps be. No. So, yeah, grad school is being used for slave labor in the United States right now. Don't do it. It doesn't pay well. It doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. And they will beg and plead to keep you if you are at all competent, which is like a grand freaking abuse of competent people in the United States. So, anyway, I could probably rant about that for an age. What are bad recommendations you hear in your profession or area of expertise? I'm not sure if this is bad or if I just hate it. But I think it's bad, and that's why I hate it. But, I mean, that could just be me. I do not like... I'm an artist. I'm a painter, in case for some reason you're just watching this, because it's a response to Adrian. I do not think you should value paintings by the square inch. That sounds stupid to me, because some people do giant, beautiful, but resin pours that take 40 minutes. And some people do meticulous classical oil painting style that takes like months. And those things should not be valued at the same per square inch. That's absurd and obscene and just not right. So don't do that. Dumb. Anyway. Oh. I don't have 10. I just have 11. Well, I'll do 11 and then I'll do another one because 11 is 10. All right. So 11. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do? Or what questions do you ask yourself? I have a little phrase that I started saying to myself when I was starting my journey into dealing with stress management. And at one point I had it written on the inside of my cover in the service, and it is, I will develop a plan of action based on the reality of what is possible. And I found that very useful because then it was switching the whole frame of experience, not to like, holy shit, how do I cope? Not away from that to what do I do now? And so it kind of doesn't matter what it is. You can just jump into that what do I do now thing. And that massively helped me. Also, if that's too wordy, I just ask what is useful? Or like, is it useful to this? Is it useful to talk right now? Is it useful to whatever, basically? And if it's not useful, I'm probably not doing it. All right. I don't know where the 10 for this official line of questions is, but I know one of the other questions that this guy asks is, what is your totem animal? Or what is your spirit animal? And I would probably say the flying jackalope, the 10-foot tall version that breathes fire, or the white albino buffalo, like the bison, the American bison, because those are basically the same animal. So this has been my response to Adrian Fort's questions. I don't know if, I don't know where this personal stuff goes on my channel, but now it exists. Thank you for giving me this time in your minds. Have a great day.